The Ides of March, 44 BCE, the morning sun cuts through the marble corridors of Pompey's theater, casting long shadows across the floor where Rome's most powerful man is about to walk into history's most famous murder. Julius Caesar wakes that day as the undisputed master of the known world, a general who conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon, and bent the Roman Republic to his will. But somewhere in the labyrinth of Roman politics, a conspiracy has been brewing, silent and deadly as poison. 23 men have sworn an oath, their daggers hidden beneath their togas, waiting for the moment when Caesar enters the Senate. His wife Calpurnia begs him not to go, her dreams haunted by visions of his statue spouting blood. Soothsayers warn him to beware the day. Yet Caesar, the man who stared down armies and conquered nations, dismisses these omens with a wave of his hand. What could possibly threaten him now? He is Caesar, after all, the conqueror of empires, beloved by the people, feared by his enemies, or so he believes. But in the halls of power, love and fear are currencies that can be spent only so long before the debt comes due. Today, that debt will be paid in blood. The question that haunts history isn't just how Caesar died, but why the very men he pardoned, promoted, and trusted would choose this particular morning to plunge their knives into his flesh 23 times. This is the story of how absolute power corrupts absolutely, how ambition becomes a noose, and how the greatest leader Rome ever knew became its most famous corpse. To understand Caesar's assassination, we must first understand the man himself, because Julius Caesar wasn't just murdered, he was executed by the very system he sought to save. Born into the aristocratic Julian family in 100 BCE, Caesar grew up in a Rome tearing itself apart, where political rivals settled disputes with armies rather than arguments, and where being on the wrong side of a power struggle meant exile or death. Young Caesar learned early that in Rome, you either dominated or disappeared. He was captured by pirates as a young man, and legend says he laughed at their ransom demand, insisting they ask for more because he was worth it. After his release, he hunted them down and had them crucified, but mercifully slit their throats first because they'd treated him well. That story tells you everything about Caesar: charismatic, vengeful, but with a strange sense of honor that would ultimately doom him. He rose through Roman politics like a comet, borrowing massive sums to buy popularity, winning elections through spectacle and bread and circuses. But it was in Gaul where Caesar transformed from politician to legend. For 8 years, he waged a campaign of conquest that brought modern-day France, Belgium, and parts of Germany under Roman control. He slaughtered an estimated 1 million Gauls and enslaved another million. His commentaries on the Gallic Wars became instant bestsellers in Rome, carefully crafted propaganda that painted him as a brilliant general and Rome's protector. And it worked. The people loved him, but the Senate feared him, because Caesar now commanded legions who were loyal to him personally, not to Rome. That loyalty, bought with plunder and glory, made him dangerous. The Rubicon River marked the boundary between Gaul and Italy, and Roman law was crystal clear. No general could cross it with his army without being declared an enemy of the state. It was the ultimate red line, designed specifically to prevent military coups. In January of 49 BCE, Caesar stood on its banks facing an impossible choice. The Senate, led by his former ally Pompey the Great, had ordered him to disband his legions and return to Rome as a private citizen, where his enemies would immediately prosecute him for alleged crimes during his consulship. It was a trap. Return without his army and face certain conviction and exile. Cross with his army and plunge Rome into civil war. Caesar made his decision with 4 words that echo through history: Alii acta ostata. The die is cast. He crossed the Rubicon, and Rome would never be the same. The civil war that followed was brutal and swift. Pompey fled to Greece, then Egypt, where he was murdered by a boy king hoping to curry favor with Caesar. When Caesar arrived and was presented with Pompey's severed head, he reportedly wept, claiming he wanted to pardon his old friend, not see him butchered like an animal. Whether those tears were genuine or political theater, we'll never know. Caesar chased his enemies across the Mediterranean, winning battle after battle, showing clemency to those who surrendered and crushing those who didn't. But here's where Caesar made his fatal miscalculation. He thought mercy would buy him loyalty. He pardoned Brutus, Cassius, and dozens of other senators who'd fought against him. He gave them positions of power, thinking generosity would transform enemies into allies. Instead, his clemency bred resentment. These men had been beaten in war but not broken in spirit, and Caesar's pardon felt less like mercy and more like humiliation, a daily reminder that they owed their very lives to his grace. By 44 BCE, Caesar held every major office simultaneously: dictator, consul, censor, and Pontifex Maximus. The Senate granted him honors that blurred the line between man and God. Statues of Caesar stood in temples. His face appeared on coins while he still lived, something previously reserved for dead heroes and deities. The month of Quintilis was renamed Julius in his honor, giving us July. He wore a purple toga and a laurel crown perpetually to hide his baldness, a vanity that became his trademark. But it was the rumor of kingship that sealed his fate. Rome had been founded on the overthrow of its last king 5 centuries earlier, and the word rex machina was political poison. Yet Caesar was behaving like a monarch in everything but name. Mark Antony publicly offered him a crown during the Lupercalia festival, and though Caesar refused it, the gesture terrified the Republican diehards. They saw a man positioning himself as Rome's first emperor, destroying centuries of tradition. The conspirators began to gather, led by Gaius Cassius Longinus and Marcus Junius Brutus. Cassius was the tactician, a bitter veteran who'd fought for Pompey and never forgave Caesar for winning. But it was Brutus who gave the conspiracy legitimacy. Brutus, whom Caesar loved like a son, perhaps even was his son from an affair with Brutus's mother Servilia. Brutus, the descendant of the man who'd overthrown Rome's last king. If Brutus joined the conspiracy, others would follow. And that's exactly what happened. Eventually, over 60 senators pledged to the plot, though only about 20 would actually participate in the killing. They called themselves the Liberators. Convinced they were saving Rome from tyranny, they set the date, March 15th, the Ides of March, when Caesar would attend the Senate meeting at Pompey's theater. The morning of the Ides arrives with omens stacking upon omens like cordwood waiting for a spark. Calpurnia wakes from nightmares of Caesar's murder and begs him to stay home. The haruspices, priests who read the future in animal entrails, sacrifice a beast and find it has no heart, an impossibly bad omen. A soothsayer stops Caesar in the street. Beware the Ides of March. Caesar recognizes him as the same man who warned him weeks ago and jokes, "The Ides have come," to which the soothsayer ominously replies, "But not yet gone." Still, Caesar proceeds to the Senate. His friend Decimus Brutus, one of the conspirators playing his role perfectly, convinces him that staying home over superstitious dreams would make him look weak. Caesar enters Pompey's theater, where the Senate is temporarily meeting, and immediately the conspirators put their plan into motion. Tullius Cimber approaches with a petition to recall his exiled brother, a deliberate distraction. As Caesar refuses, Cimber grabs his toga and pulls it down from his shoulders. The signal. Casca strikes first, his dagger glancing off Caesar's neck, drawing first blood but not landing a killing blow. Caesar wheels around, catching Casca's arm and stabbing him with his stylus, the iron pen used for writing on wax tablets. For a moment, it seems Caesar might fight his way free, then the others descend. 23 men, 23 knives, stabbing in a frenzy so chaotic they wound each other in the melee. Caesar tries to flee, blinded by blood, stumbling, reaching out for help that won't come, and then he sees Brutus, dagger drawn, moving toward him. The ancient sources disagree on what Caesar said. Some claim he uttered the famous "Et tu, Brute? And you, Brutus?" Others say he spoke in Greek, "Kai su, Technon? You too, child?" suggesting Caesar knew or believed Brutus was his son. Caesar pulls his toga over his head, choosing to die blind rather than watch Brutus strike, and collapses at the base of Pompey's statue. The irony is almost too perfect. Caesar, murdered at the feet of his greatest rival's image, his blood staining the marble floor of a theater named for the man he defeated. He suffers 23 stab wounds, but the autopsy, one of history's first recorded post-mortems, reveals only one was fatal, the second blow to the chest that pierced his heart. The conspirators expect celebration. They burst from the Senate, daggers raised, shouting about liberty and tyranny slaying. Instead, Rome reacts with horror and chaos. The people don't see liberators, they see assassins who murdered the man who gave them grain, entertained them with games, and conquered the world in Rome's name. Within hours, Mark Antony seizes control of the narrative, delivering a funeral oration so powerful it turns the mob against the conspirators. Shakespeare would immortalize it centuries later. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me ears. Antony reads Caesar's will, revealing Caesar left his gardens to the public and 300 sesterces to every Roman citizen. The crowd riots, hunting down anyone associated with the conspiracy. Rome burns as the liberators flee for their lives, realizing too late they'd killed a man but not the idea he represented. Within 2 years, most of the conspirators are dead, many by their own hands. Brutus and Cassius die at the Battle of Philippi. Cassius killed by the same sword he'd used to stab Caesar. The Roman Republic, which they'd killed to save, dies with them. In its place rises the Roman Empire under Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, who becomes Augustus, Rome's first official emperor. Caesar's assassination didn't stop Rome from having kings, it ensured they would call themselves emperors instead. The blood on the Senate floor didn't wash away tyranny, it baptized it with a new name. And somewhere in the shadows of history, Caesar's ghost must be laughing, because the men who murdered him to preserve the Republic accidentally created the very monarchy they feared. Julius Caesar entered Pompey's theater as Rome's dictator and left it as Rome's martyr, transforming from mortal to myth in the time it takes a heart to stop a beating. His death proved what he'd always known: in Rome, the only thing more dangerous than your enemies is the mercy you show them.